my name is Logan. I'm a sophomore at Appalachian State University, and this is my literacy narrative. I want to start off by acknowledging that I am an only child, and a lot of my early development was a result of that. I was always really kept with the adults in the room, whether that be my parents, grandparents, aunts, or uncles. It doesn't really matter. My point is that unlike a lot of kids, I was not sent off into the other room with Lincoln Logs and Legos and, if you're a kid today, iPad to go play and leave the adults to talk and hang out and socialize. But I was kept with those adults, and I was not treated like a baby, and I was included in conversation and really treated like older than I was. So upon entering elementary school, I was very excited for reading and writing. I had learned the basics in pre-K, and I was ready to take the next step. Reading was very fun. I really enjoyed it up until about sixth grade. Sorry, second grade. Excuse me, second grade. When I started taking accelerated reader test, and those are basically tests and quizzes you take after you read a book online. And they're usually about 10 questions. But I, at the time, was really not a good test taker. I didn't know that, but when you're second grade, 7 years old, and you read a book, take a quiz, and you see 10, 20, 30% correct on the quiz, that's very discouraging to wanting to read. You assume that what's going on is your fault and that you didn't really learn anything from the book, which, again, when you're in second grade, you don't realize that. You just think it's your fault and that that's a problem. So, because of that, I was very discouraged in test taking and reading through most of elementary school. Writing was really also the same for me. Third and fourth grade, when writing fundamentals were really starting to be taught, my fourth grade teacher missed the entire school year for her health issues, and the substitute obviously is not going to teach as well as a permanent teacher. So my foundation in writing was really poor. So leading out of elementary school, um, I had a poor foundation in writing, and I was very discouraged in reading and test taking. So backing up a little bit, in third grade, I took the test to be an AIG, and my math scores were really well. My reading scores were a struggle. But I'm very thankful for my AIG teacher, Miss Gina Gregory, for including me in both math and reading, despite my reading scores not being well. I remember her calling my mom and planning a parent-teacher conference. Every kid, when they get a call from a teacher saying they need to meet with your mom or your dad, you're immediately concerned and think you did something wrong. But I remember being so relieved to find out she was going to include me with her reading and math classes. But the problem is that still didn't help with my reading and writing. Her class was lots of problem solving and critical thinking. So whereas my reading and writing didn't improve, other aspects of my knowledge improved. Going into middle school, I personally don't remember very much, but I do know that not a lot changed just because it was the same boring books that no one wanted to read. It was the same old boring writing prompts based on those boring books. So you're discouraged from writing and you're discouraged from reading, and students just don't care in middle school, as we all know. So getting into high school, I'm still really not where I need to be, although I did improve a little bit in the middle school. I saw the most improvement in my writing beginning in history classes, believe it or not, with DBQs. They're papers you write for AP courses, and basically they're papers full of facts. There is no opinions in the paper. Basically, you read the documents and you fill a paper full of facts trying to prove a point. And for me, that really, really helped my writing because I'd always had really good ideas for what I wanted to write, but I had never been able to really put it on paper and show it. So by writing these fact-based papers, it really allowed my writing to expand and it had an effect in not only the history writing but the writing for reading courses. So that laid the foundation for my writing to be better in the English courses. My writing really saw growth there. My reading saw growth in the English courses as well, simply because we were doing more small group reading. We're picking the books we read, and at the end, we're not taking a 50-question test on The Great Gatsby. We are working as small groups to create digital multimedia, technology, whatever production to show what we had learned. So we're presenting to the class what we found interesting in the book, what we learned, what it was about, who the characters were, rather than here's a 50 question multiple choice test about the book. So it was way more fun to read. You had incentive to read because you got to create cool technology with a group of friends, which to me was much better than taking a test. So leaving high school, I went into high school as being discouraged from reading and writing, and I left from actually being a very good reader and writer. I had great skills and I had a great foundation now to take into college, and I've seen that with writing in college. But I think the main theme from my literacy narrative is that my writing and my reading were flawed. They had their own struggles for their own reasons, and I think that because there were struggles with reading and writing, my speaking and talking and outgoingness is more than most people, and that talking and speaking became my outlet. It became my form of communication because obviously writing was not how I communicated, and then reading someone's writing was obviously not a good way to communicate with me. So speaking became my way of talking and communicating and getting my message across. And I think that because of that, um, I want to be a teacher one day. And looking back at my past, I want to be that high school history teacher that makes a change in someone's academic life who is struggling, help a student or students that had the same struggles that you are and overcome them. Teaching history is so much more than just here's what happened in the past. It's about broadening someone's horizon to what's going on in the world and helping them improve as a student. Just because I'm not teaching theorems and formulas and definitions, I'm teaching about what's happened in life and how do I improve students' knowledge and critical thinking and history to apply everywhere else. So I want to be that teacher, and I think because of my struggles with reading and writing in the past, it's really influenced who I am and me wanting to make a difference as a teacher.